I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, Army? Welcome back to the Break the Silence After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. We've got some very important business to talk about today. I'm sure you know what that means. We're going to be talking everything episodes 5 and 6 of the docuseries tonight. I am joined by my fellow Army, Trina Dong. Trina, how are you?
Hi, happy to be here. Love the 2 episodes. Cannot wait to dive in.
Oh, we're going to dive in. We're obviously going to be talking all about kind of the members talking about wanting to participate in ordinary life. We're going to be talking about 2 iconic performances in Brazil and obviously Wembley. And we are going to be talking about a very emotional topic and one that episode 6 touched upon, which was letting go and the idea of disbanding. Very, very big, tough topic to talk about. And we're also going to be talking about news because there was a lot of news that dropped this week. Let's just say August D, plus some anniversaries we hit. We also, while the members are breaking the silence, we're going to be talking about them breaking those records. But before we get into any of that, Trina, what were your overall thoughts on these 2 episodes? Because they kind of blended together.
Yes, so good. I'm so happy that we started off both the first of the 2 episodes with Jin at Six Flags. We've been waiting to see what he was up to at Six Flags. And so I was happy that we got to experience the lives that they live on a day off. And then also kind of at the end of it, talk about what all that means to them and talk about what the past, present, and the future mean to them. So it was a really fun episode to watch. Some sad things, obviously, in both episodes, but I loved them as I always do. What'd you think?
Oh my gosh, these episodes, they were really bittersweet because it was like they started off like very happy, very good, like, oh, look at the members, kind of, bringing up memories at a dinner table, or like you said, Jin at Six Flags, and then they really like hit you with these hard emotional topics. And like one of the biggest and most emotional ones, obviously, that they dealt with, which was the idea of splitting up. But I really loved these episodes. With episode 5 in particular, I really liked how a lot of the episode kind of focused on certain misconceptions and questions, because I feel like throughout their career, BTS has been asked a lot of ridiculous questions like, what's there to worry about? Or like, don't you get used to this crazy lifestyle and stuff like that? And it's like, I'm very happy that the members address that, because each musician has their own basic way of going about things. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed these episodes. They, like I said, they were really emotional. They came in strong, and then it's like, boom, now we got you. We're gonna hit you with the sad stuff.
So much.
So let's talk about episode 5 first. And the first topic we want to bring up is kind of ordinary life. You brought up, Trina, Jin at Six Flags, which, can I just say, one of the things about this trip I love is how when Jin ever goes somewhere, he always likes to look like a complete tourist. Him at Six Flags, him in Malta. Oh my gosh, it's just the funniest thing to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's one of the ones that takes advantage of the ordinary stuff as much as possible. Like, he yearns to be in public, but to be that other Jin that we were talking about last week. He wants to have that normal life and to have fun. He just kept saying how fun everything was and smiling and just being happy. And it's really fun to watch all of them in those elements. We also got to see RM running around and getting some new art, and J-Hope getting a caricature drawn of him, and someone saying, "You look like BTS." It's like, yeah, I am. And it's just fun to watch them be able to do it, I guess, is better, because last week we were seeing them try to buy an iPad and it was nearly impossible. So it was nice to see it this way happen.
Yeah, it's tough because we obviously see them in series like Bon Voyage, where they are able to kind of just travel and not necessarily get that much attention. And maybe that's partially because no one ever knows where they're going during Bon Voyage. But obviously, when they're on tour, Army kind of has an idea of where they're going to be, or at least in which cities they're going to be. So that might make it harder to go out. So the fact that they had this day off, and in like such a big city where there's so many people around, it was nice to see them kind of just enjoy the day, or, like I said, Jin at an amusement park, just enjoying himself. I also really liked how all of the members have different ways of enjoying their time off. Obviously, RM liked to go and view art. J-Hope liked just exploring kind of the streets. Jin was at an amusement park, but Suga, on the other hand, was kind of just working out, and we got a sense of kind of him as the introvert that he is. Which was very, it was endearing, and it was just because, you know, we always see him as like the kind of parental figure too. It's like all the boys are jumping in a pool and he's there with a glass of wine. Like he's always been kind of that very like you know, just the more reserved kind of the reserved member. And it was very touching to hear how he values simple, like what we consider simple things: eating out, going to the movies, traveling. And once again, you know, these guys are so used to we're so used to seeing them put themselves out there, but then Suga comes in and said, these things I value because they're a little bit hard for me. What'd you think of that comment?
That of both episodes, this was one of the most difficult things for me to watch, I think, because when he said, you know, ordinary things to you are very special to me. And he even said some of the members do go and do these things that I consider to be special. And he said it's because they have friends and that he doesn't really have friends. And I'm sure that's a choice, an overall choice, which is not a bad choice. Of course, there's a lot going on, but it is kind of sad because it goes back to what Jin was saying, is that, you know, you miss out on people. Some people are who you think they aren't who you think they are, and things like that. So I thought that was sad because he could do those things the way that the other members do, but I think he chooses not to just because it's easier to just not. And so that was sad to me, but I'm glad that he's able to express it. He's always good at expressing things, of course, especially through his music, which we will talk about. But I don't know, it was kind of sad.
Yeah. And I think him, as well as all the other members, and we'll talk about that more in kind of episode 6, have this really good balance about them where it's like, you know, you win some, you lose some. And even Jin kind of had made a similar reference in that, you know, they're living such extraordinary lives that they can't do small, simple things like all of us can. And it's like, you know, they obviously wouldn't trade that for the world, but it's just one of those things that they sacrifice, is not being able to do kind of the simple, mundane things. And it's like, you know, they have a really good mindset of like, we accept this. It's hard sometimes, but it's kind of the circumstances of our situation.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to point out, and it's also important for Army to understand that just because we all know that they would not trade, you know, this current life for anything. We know that, but it's also okay for them to miss those things and for them to not love everything about it all the time, because you can't possibly. So it's nice to be able to see that side, and for everyone to kind of see, you know, these guys are just need to be real like 5% of the time. Just give them the opportunity to, you know?
Yeah. Give them a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
To breathe. Because as soon as, you know, because they need that moment to breathe, because right the next day they're back to traveling again. And in this case, they're traveling to Brazil for another big concert. And one of the things that I really liked about seeing this concert, well, first of all, I love that we are getting Break the Silence right now, and we're getting these opportunities to kind of relive these concerts, especially in this time right now where we don't get to be together with the members, which I would say was very disappointing, because this is also, I would consider, a huge year for them. It's you know, and so it's nice that we get these moments of like, oh yeah, you know, it's nice to relive that experience where we did get to be together.
Yeah.
But one of the things I also liked was how they kind of opened up this concert with saying how they're connecting with their fans. They're learning some Portuguese, and they even like learned a samba dance. And that's one of the things I love so much about BTS, is that they work so hard to connect with their fans. That's why they have so much content for us, because they want to talk to us. They want to connect to us. What did you think about this moment with everything that they're putting together?
Yeah, I think it just reminds us that they always do the extra steps. they're not just stopping at what their job is, because we know what their job is. Their job is to make music, to perform the music, and, you know, to keep their bodies healthy. That's basically what their jobs are. But they go a million extra miles, honestly, to make sure that every country feels a certain way in whatever way they can. And so the samba part, especially it being done by Suga, like that makes it even more special, I think, because it's someone that you wouldn't expect necessarily for him to start out doing it. And so I think it's great every time they do it. And we watch the videos, like we always say, on YouTube, and we see them do the special things for every country, including ours. And so it's cool to watch.
Mhm. It was really, really cool. I love how they, like you said, Trina, take the extra step. And, you know, we mentioned this briefly in the last few episodes, in that when they're traveling so much to all these different countries to perform these concerts, sometimes they don't get the proper amount of time they need to go through tech rehearsals. And we saw that briefly last time, where a light wouldn't work for RM. And I think in this episode, it brought up kind of at least another topic to me that I didn't consider the first time, which was when RM couldn't get the augmented reality to work. It's that kind of, to me, brought up this other thing of like, okay, so not only do they not always get the amount of time to go through their tech rehearsals, but they might be traveling to a venue with, they have their crew, but there's also the venue's stage crew that is not familiar with their production value, and production values and concerts are going up and up and up all the time. So there could be a chance that this crew doesn't have the equipment, or, you know, kind of the ability to match what you're bringing to them. And I didn't, that was another thing that they just brought to the table that I never once considered. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like, first of all, props to RM for always keeping his cool.
Oh yeah.
Because these things are not life ruining by any means. The show must go on, and it always will. But these little bumps in the road, like even when he said, oh, the last time I got in here and the kimchi stew there was like 2 bites left. And it's because, you know, he's dealing with frustrations that everybody has to deal with. It's not just the crew that deals with the stuff, it's the artist too. And so when these things don't happen, it's obvious that you're going to run into venues that aren't capable of doing big hit style work, because the stuff that these guys make, and especially like the VCR, everything, there's going to be hitches, and it sucks to find out at sound check.
It makes you anxious.
Yeah, it's like, what could go wrong? Okay, did we get through it? Okay, we did, but we didn't because this and this and this, you know. It's scary.
And that's something that RM kind of brings up too, and I love that he brings up, because, you know, BTS is to, like, ARMY obviously knows who they are, but to people who aren't necessarily familiar with BTS, they kind of have this perception of they're just these global superstars that, you know, have everything going for them. Kind of, that can be the perception for some people. And I love that during these moments, RM is bringing up very important questions that need to be addressed with them, which is like, you know, kind of people saying, oh, what's there to worry about when, you know, you go on tour, or when you're writing music or stuff like that? Or other questions like, well, aren't you used to it? Aren't you used to, you know, performing at this high capacity level? When RM mentions how the stage drives you, but it also drains you. And these were such important questions to be brought up. Trina, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that especially that line, and remembering how much they love being there and they love being a part of it, and then when they're gone, it's kind of all they can think about. Because, and then for it to do things like the lights not working or whatever it is, it kind of can all drive you crazy, because you're searching for this perfect feeling, I think, that you're waiting for, and the perfect feeling that you want to give thousands and thousands, like 100,000 people over 2 nights. And so the pressure is just really huge, I think. But then the payoff, the personal payoff, can be great, or it can be a hit, you know?
Exactly.
Hit in a bad way.
Yeah. it's crazy because they're, they often do get asked like, how are you not used to it? But the production level, the performance level is constantly going up. It's
Yeah.
like, and we've seen that throughout their career. So it's like, as soon as the members think that they have everything under control, something else changes, whether it's something internal or external, like not getting a light to work or something like that. So you can never really get used to it because something is always changing day to day in their career
Yeah.
in touring.
And there are
So
always things to be fearful too. Like I think all of us were nervous that JK is up there for Euphoria every night in different venues with different places that are holding him up there. How do we know they're, you don't
mhm.
know. And so there are things that could go wrong. Jimin could get stuck in a bubble, like
Yeah,
things
it
could
won't
go
pop.
exactly or something. Things can go wrong in any aspect. So I think there's worry every single night.
Mhm. And I love, Trina, that you bring up Jimin because this was a particularly tough episode for him as well, for our Mochi, because he was suffering from a very sore throat, or his throat was just, it was killing him vocally. He wasn't able to sing. He broke down during the Truth Untold because he wasn't able to sing. And it was just, it was, whenever we're seeing the members hurting, it's very upset. And then knowing that, and then it's upsetting because we know that it's not just them hurting. The members have mentioned when one hurts, everyone hurts. So that's
Everybody.
in the back of our mind too.
Yeah. Especially when you're watching, because we watched it at first where, he was feeling it. And then suddenly they were on stage doing the vocal line performance. And then JK just kind of jumped in there and started
Hmm.
singing and then was consoling him. And we see Schumann literally just start crying on stage and we don't know why. And thankfully he said later why he was crying. It was because of everyone singing with him and feeling
Hmm.
uplifted from that and not sad. But even so, just and them talking about it too. So the next day when he started feeling better, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Can you please sing with me just in case to
Hmm.
JK? And so, and it's not even a question. He probably just assumed he was already doing it because why would I let you fall? And
Yeah.
so, just watching those interactions and watching how much everyone is just like, J-Hope's like, he's got to rest for 5 days after this. That's it.
Hmm.
And it's just not as easy for the person that's going through it because they don't want to rest.
Yeah. He doesn't want to rest. He wants to keep going. We've seen Jimin, we've seen him and that he wants to give his best performance. He doesn't want to feel like he's disappointing Army, which is never the
No,
case, Jimin.
never.
But
Yeah.
but what I will say is I was so happy and impressed with Jimin's emotional growth because we
Yeah.
have seen him in interviews and behind the scenes footage in the past where when something happens, whether he's injured or he's sick or he messed up or whatever it may be, he takes it very, very hard. Like he will think about it for days, and it really affects him emotionally. It affects his mindset. But I loved the growth in him that we saw this episode, and that he's like, I I can't I can't be overcome with regret. I just have to accept the circumstances and continue on. And I thought that was so special to hear because we don't want him to feel like to get completely consumed by it. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember exactly what film this was, or it could have been a series, but when they were basically it happened this year. It was when they were all talking about how they have all grown out of things so much and how now, especially Jimin has allowed himself to be himself and to laugh more. And I think it was maybe the Map of the Soul special on V Live, maybe, but they were just talking about how perfect. Talking about
Hi, Beck.
how he can just be himself and how he can be funny and have fun and feel the good feelings and not focus on the bad ones. And what a lesson to all of us right now, truly, to take these negative things and try to just be positive about them because where is it getting you otherwise? And so I thought it was
Hmm.
incredible that that's how he truly felt. It wasn't just stuff he was saying. You could tell he didn't have a voice on, he didn't have anything on. He was just saying how he felt, and how he felt was, I have to deal with the circumstances, so let's move forward.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm so happy that he has been able to get to that point to kind of, ask the questions of loving yourself and what can I do to be happy. I just think it's so impressive, and I'm so happy for him that he's finally been able to reach that point.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we kind of saw his growth, and I want to touch upon another member, Jin, who we've heard quite a bit from in this series so far, basically, kind of say things along the line that he's not impressed with his talent and that he doesn't think he's extraordinary at anything and he doesn't really know how to develop further. And it's always always upsetting to hear. But what did you think, Trina?
Yeah, I mean, we have heard a lot from Jin this series, and it's interesting that they've decided to put so much of Jin in this, because I feel like we really do kind of only see the other Jin a lot of the time, and I want to be happy on stage, I want to show everyone, what they came to see. And so that's what he said this time, basically. People watch me to be happy, therefore I will show them what will make them happy, and I do not want to make them sad. And so going along with the single that he released, how he only wanted people to listen to it that needed to hear it versus not wanting everybody to feel sad. And I think it's really huge that he released it, and he knows that everybody listened to it, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's a big, huge personal step for him to release something that's not always this bright and sunny, worldwide handsome situation.
Mm-hmm. No, I actually really like the way that you put that, because I didn't think about it that way. And that obviously, and we'll talk about it more in episode 6, where Jin was very conflicted with putting out his single, but the fact that you tied it to kind of, the two sides of Jin, I really loved how you put that.
Yeah.
It's so interesting too, because he says, like, how can I develop further? And it's funny watching this series now, because I feel like so many things are coinciding with what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's intentional, but knowing Big Hit and BTS, it might be.
It is.
Who knows? But when he said that, he literally posted a video not too long ago of him practicing the piano, and I'm like, that's you developing further. Like, there's always a way to continue to do that, and him trying to practice piano and get better at that is doing exactly what he wasn't sure how to do.
Absolutely.
Oh man, they really know.
They're killing it always.
I know, always. It's so perfectly planned. It gets me.
I know.
And then real quick, before we move on to episode 6, I just wanted to touch on the last member that also kind of had some self-doubt, which was JK, and how we give him high praise. We call him the golden Maknae, but that's not how he feels.
Yeah. It's always been like that though, huh? Like, it always kind of has been. He'll say it and he'll be like, I'm this, but whenever we actually talk to him or have conversations with him through these shows or whatever it is, he always has so much doubt. And it's because I think he always is just trying. He really cares about showing ARMY, I think. That's what he cares about most. And he knows that the reason why he is where he is not only because of his talent and perseverance, but because of the people that love him. And since he was so young when he started, and, he's spoken of family things before, like that he wasn't very nice to his parents. And he had regrets of that, just being a teenager, like a young teen, but that's the last memory that he has at home. And so growing up, these guys raised him, basically. And so he wants to prove his parents, the guys that raised him, and ARMY, that he's always going to do his best. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
Oh, yeah. A lot.
And so I just think he's always like that. And I think that he'll probably never let that go. But, maybe it's a good thing to feel a little bit of the pressure, because otherwise you might get taken away by all the glitz.
Mm-hmm. But there are moments where the pressure does kind of subside for a little bit, because they really do get to see just how much ARMY loves them. And that is very apparent when they play Wembley in episode 6. Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
This It will never not make me emotional.
It's so good. I love that we started off the episode with Wembley and with the press conference and them just being like, listen, we know that we're here in big company and we are so honored. And then to have the fans turn around and do what Army does and says, no, you belong here. Be humble all you want, but you belong right here on this giant stage.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was so special how in this segment, you know, when you play a huge arena like Wembley, you think, wow, you know, I made it. I'm playing this huge stadium. But I loved, like you were saying, Trina, how the members were so humble in that, you know, they don't want to make this performance a big deal just because it's Wembley. They obviously, like Jimin was saying, he wants to thank the fans for the opportunity that they gave him, the amount of fans that want to see him that led to them playing to something like Wembley. They don't want to just be Wembley for Wembley's sake. And then obviously with this surprise, it's never going to be just another concert. It's going to be, Army gave me this opportunity to play a huge stadium and they surprised me by making this particular performance very special.
That's so good.
It's so good.
So good. That's all there is to say.
It's all there is to say.
Yeah, the final part of the overseas tour was really cool.
It's amazing. It's emotional. I can't describe it. Everyone just should just go watch it again. It's so
watch
good.
It again.
Watch
so
it
good.
Again. And so the beginning of this episode obviously starts out very happy. We get that very beautiful, touching moment at Wembley, and then we get to go into some table talk with the members. They're filming Run BTS. They're joking around. What were you thinking of all these kind of like behind the scenes moments of them just bringing up amazing memories?
First of all, starting with the first Run BTS episode of this, I guess, season or whatever the comeback was, with them measuring like the arms and stuff. I'm so glad we got a little behind the scenes on that, because Jimin trying to grow arms during that is one of my favorite things that has happened in the last year. Growing your arms just to be about an inch, just to match whoever Suga's arms, basically. So I think it's amazing. I'm glad we get to see some behind the scenes stuff. And you know what? It does go to show, and we're going to talk about this in 1 second, I bet, but when they're together, like no wrong can be done. And so it's nice to watch it in all ways.
Oh yeah. Whenever they're together, we love watching the goofy moments, like everyone just dragging Yoongi for not giving them eye contact.
Well, it's true.
It's true. But what I got from this is that I am fully convinced that Soap are eternal soulmates, because they have their little moment in Boy with Love. They will do eye contact.
And it's okay. He's the only, because he'll rush, like Suga will rush to J-Hope no matter what. Like he'll go find him for good vibes, for positive energy. So he can make eye contact. But I love that they do it to Suga for, reaction's sake. It's funny.
Oh yeah. It was just so funny. I love that we got to see that. And then, as we were saying, they kind of go into more serious talk, which is they talked about being a group and going through their struggles together, which is very true. We see a lot of musicians go through struggles, but everyone's struggle is different. And even if you have a friend who's a music artist, their struggles aren't your struggles. So sometimes it's hard to move forward because you think you might be alone. In this case, they have each other. So they know very well each other's struggles and they're able to continue on.
Yeah. I think that talking about, and you hear all of them say similar things and them all just being like, yeah, exactly. Just basically saying that, again, they've said it like a couple episodes ago, but they're very blessed to have exactly each other, and they all love exactly each other, and they all have this bond, whether it has to do with common goals or why, or just, by grace that put it on them all, that they really love each other that much. It's a really great situation. And for them to say, some other groups, it's not like that. They don't like each other. And, it's obvious that you get a large group of people that it may clump up you've got groups of 7, groups of 9, groups of like 12. How is it belong so well? And they prove that it can be done.
Yeah. You were breaking up a little there, Trina, but
Oh, sorry.
no, it's totally okay, because we still kind of I was still able to understand your point in that, there's just artists that are together and they're not able to get along. We've seen so many groups disband regardless of, where they are. And so it's very special that the members have each other and that they're able to talk about such serious things, which is what this episode eventually leads into and has become one of the hardest, most emotional topics to talk about. And that's the idea of BTS letting go of BTS and possibly disbanding. And they start talking about that. And basically, they, like I said, they've had such emotional growth in that they're discussing it. And should and when the time comes, they won't regret it. But Jimin has a very interesting point in that he's saying he can't accept it, which I think Jimin is speaking for all ARMY in that moment.
Or just all of everyone's actual fear, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very easy to say, well, it's probably the truth. Like when J-Hope said, if I'll have no regrets because we'll have done this the way that we wanted to do it. But of course, the fear is going to take you with, I can't accept that right now. I need this to happen right now. And then RM taking it back to where we don't know, we can't predict the future. So we just know that we need to do the best right now. And that's definitely the best way to go about it. But yeah, the conversations are scary, but it's true though, because, we've seen a lot of groups go away, come back randomly like 5-10 years later. But, it's not the same once you officially disband. It's kind of over.
And I want to get your opinion on something, Trina, because there was a moment where I think it was Yoongi who was saying something along the lines of, what can I, should we disband? What can I do by myself without BTS? And he kind of came to the conclusion of nothing really, which, we brought it up in this show before. It's that thing that's lingering that we all know is coming, which is military service. And it's that comment made me wonder, if one had to enlist, would they all enlist? Is it like, would BTS continue performing if they were missing a member, or to them is it, we're a group, we'll continue as a group? Any thoughts on that?
There was talk last year, 2019, about when Jin had to enlist that everyone would just do it and then just be gone for 2 years, and there would be enough content that Big Hit would just drop and drop and drop. I don't know if that makes sense. There are so many groups right now. Like you have EXO, who has 3 people out, but they're about a year apart, or 2PM that's been out for like 4 years because everybody's been all over the place. So you see what happens. Like if you do it in order of birth, you were not back together for 7 years. And that's not even a full back together situation. So it depends on the strategy, and it depends on if the strategy is going to be what's most important to them. Like, are you going to make JK go to the military when he's 23 years old? And that would be probably not beneficial to him at his time. You know what I mean? But also then you have the 95s where they're only 25. You've got so many things to think about that I wonder what the plan will be, because I cannot imagine it's going to be everybody going in time with their birth year, because it just wouldn't make sense. If it will make more sense if Suga and Jin go together, and then J-Hope and RM go together, and then the 3 Machines go together. But that still puts you at 6 years.
Yeah, it's tough to say, and just the way that comic came across made it seem to me like they wouldn't want to be apart, or for 6 years if they were to go in order like that. So I can see the understanding if they all went together, so that way they could come back together sooner, because they're talking about the end. They obviously want to try and do this for as long as possible, and I can't imagine them wanting to take 6 years off, because that's so much time that they wouldn't get to do what they love. So I don't know what their decision is, but it was just something that made me think that that comment made it seem like BTS wants to do things together, even if it could be military service.
Yeah, because you just perform incomplete is basically how it works. I don't know what they'll do, but I truly think that the spoiler that Jin gave us in that album like conversation, that if an album's coming out in October, Jin's going to enlist by December, and then by Jin's enlistment date, we'll find out if it's just him or more than him.
Mm-hmm. And then one last thing I want to touch on before we go into our news was, let's be real, we'll never listen to Tear the same way again.
Oh my gosh, can you believe?
It makes now that he said it, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I totally see it. But it could have totally been something else, like a relationship. And I'm like,
yes.
Oh my gosh. It's just, I feel like I can never listen to the same way again. And it's really interesting hearing them talk so openly about splitting. Obviously, they're in a much better place emotionally. They're in a much stronger place now that they can talk about this without feeling like, it's going to happen. But man, was that like a real shocker. It's like
and the fact that Suga wrote it for them, basically, like he wrote it to them and to their thoughts and to their conversations. And that's just Suga doing his, the thing they always joke about him, like handing you the water, but not looking at you, like fathering in that way. It's such a perfect bow on that song. And that's my favorite like unit track, and now it has so much more meaning.
It's so beautiful. I'm very happy that we got that little bit of extra information, because it really shows of like how serious they were talking about that. It wasn't just the one-time conversation that they brought up during their awards speech. It was also something that it was everything. They were talking about it for quite a while, and it influenced other things. So I love that we got that little bit of information.
Yeah, same.
So it's a very emotional. It was that last half of that episode was very emotional. How we're basically talking about one of our favorite groups, the idea of having to be let go. However, we're very lucky that is not the case right now, and they are still slaying. So let's get into a bit of news.
Yeah. What a good news.
AfterBuzz TV news.
Oh my, such a strong news week. Yoongi is living his best quarantine life.
Oh,
this one. So ARMY, it's very disappointing that we don't get to be with BTS right now. The 7th year that they are together, we don't get to be with them due to the coronavirus. But today was actually the 7-year anniversary since their debut trailer was released. And if we could just throw up image 1, get a quick look at that. So a fun fact, this trailer right now has about like a little over 2 million, I think, views.
So
just
good.
Retrospect, DNA is almost at 1 billion views. Like the growth.
Yeah.
The growth.
Yeah.
The growth. And then another little anniversary we just passed was this past Thursday was the 3 years since their first BBMAs, where they took home top social artist. We have an image that we would like to show from that special award ceremony. I brought it up on the show how I think the BBMAs was a very big turning point for BTS in Western media. Some
Probably
people may think differently.
Yeah, no, the turning point in the States in North America for sure. Everybody's like,
this
who's
was
that?
definitely
Why is everybody cheering? Why is everybody how do they get social? Who are they? And then it's like, you're gonna find out.
Exactly. I don't necessarily remember who they were competing against, but I can only imagine it was people like Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber.
They beat Justin Bieber. They beat Bieber. Yeah.
Huge names, and everyone's like, who's this K-pop group that's beating all of these really popular artists? So that definitely got a lot of eyes on them. And then another big piece of news, probably the biggest piece of news, was last week we talked about Big Hit Surprise Countdown, and they didn't even wait until D-Day to tell us what it was. Gina, do you want to?
Well, I was DMing Veronica, and I was like, do you think? Look what ARMY put together. They made this. Like, doesn't it look like him? And then they changed that artist photo 2 days early, and ARMY snatched it up. But the craziest one, did I send you the one where there was an ARMY that basically took the music from one of the episodes of Bon Voyage, I think it was, and then zoomed in on the sound and Shazammed it. And then it was one of the tracks on D2.
Army,
And
you are so creative.
It came up on Shazam early.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy. Anyway, August D2 is out, and it is amazing, this album.
The album is complete fire. We also got the music video for Dechita. I love how we've been getting so many behind the scenes pictures from the making of this music video. We have a few images that we want to show you guys. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen them, where Hobie, JK, and Jin visited Suga on set. They brought him a coffee truck
so good
to make him happy. It's just so sweet to show their support. And then Jin and JK got to be in the music video. And they were like, we're not here as BTS today, we're actor Jungkook and we're actor Jin, and he begged us to be in it. So good. I didn't recognize Jin in the video because of the facial hair. First either. I
was like, that's not him, they're wrong. But they were right.
But no, always trust Sam right. Twitter. They know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
So huge week for Yoongi. Honestly, he didn't even give us time to breathe from his collaboration with IU before he dropped the Gusty. So just, my gosh, complete fire, amazing. He has collaborations with Max and a few other artists. Remind you, unpromoted album is breaking records, which I'm going to throw to Trina for our special segment where she will talk about breaking these records.
He Beyonce'd this thing, and he really, he topped these charts. And to be honest, those features, they're so lucky to be on this album because he was hitting #1 internationally, in the US, everywhere, all of South Korea's different charts. He hit the top of those. He's absolutely killing it. Not to mention, he got to be one of his heroes from the band Nell is on one of the tracks. And so he made some record-breaking history for himself on that. So he's killing it, but we've got other records that we're breaking. V has now broke international iTunes charts. He has beat Psy with his song Sweet Night. Isn't that crazy? Beating, and Psy, he always says that, I don't know if you've ever seen Celeb Brothers. It's from 2015. I'll send it to you. It's an amazing reality show that he was on, but he said that Psy was his idol. And that is the idol that he followed. He was Psy's army, basically. And so for him to beat him on the charts, I'm sure is just the greatest honor. And then we've got some more brand reputation where the individuals. So #1 on the brand reputation charts is our own Jimin, of course. And then all 7 guys, though, are in the top 30. So they're killing it. Keep it pushing. Always breaking records.
Always breaking records. Every week, I feel like there's a new trending hashtag of we surpassed this much. Like I said, DNA is almost at 1 billion. We're going to have a party when that happens.
Totally.
And it's all the hard work from armies, from streaming, for helping them get to that point. And it's because we love them. We love them.
Absolutely. So good, guys.
So that just about wraps up our time here covering episodes 5 and 6 of Break the Silence. This is going to be awkward because I have to hold up my screen here. But I just wanted to give a shout out to all of the amazing army who joined us live. I want to give a shout out to Marie, to Hamada. Yeah, you see my hand. Sorry, guys, it's awkward.
No, I love it.
To Jamie and Aloha Fernandez. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. But thank you guys so much for joining us in the live chat. Remember, you can also, if you're watching it later or even if you're watching it now, please give us a comment down below. We would love to chat with you guys and see your amazing opinions. There's a lot to dive into, so please give this video a thumbs up and keep talking with us.
Yeah.
Trina, where can the fans find you on social media?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hey Trina Dong, and you can find me on Wednesdays, K-Pop News Weekly, at AfterBuzz TV.
And you can find me, Veronica Valencia, on Twitter and Instagram at it's me, Veronica_V. And if you need more of a weekly dose of Bong Time, you can catch the BTS Buzz every Monday on all of the social media platforms for AfterBuzz TV at AfterBuzz TV. Thank you, Army, again so much for tuning in. Be sure to catch us for the next episode. We can't wait to talk to you guys. See you soon.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.